Hello, folks. Welcome to Minions of the Zoo, episode 1404. Pow-wows and peace pipes. I'm your host, JohnnyHellcat, and with me today are Minions Sanguine,
Good evening, all.
Terry Diamantis,
Hello.
and traveling exhibit, the Hay Camel.
We're decolonizing the stream, folks.
That's usually how it goes.
And
so how are you guys doing?
I'm doing grand. I've had a good birthday thus far. I've had a fantastic meal. It was a massive porterhouse steak that I had dry brined for 3 days, sous vide to perfect medium rare throughout the entire steak. Then seared it off nice and hard in cast iron with some beef tallow that I'd rendered down a while ago. Some sautéed mushrooms and smoked butter and some Jameson Black Barrel. A few roasted ube, which are Japanese purple sweet potatoes, that I roasted up, tossed some smoked garlic or smoked butter on them, and then a salad of mixed greens with pickled shallots and garlic and a smoked balsamic, which was fucking amazing. And now I'm just trying to decide what I'm going to be drinking tonight. So, bit of chat participation here. Should I go for an 18-year Lafroig, some Green Spot, some Jameson Black Barrel, some Jameson Standard, a special Jameson that can only be found at the Jameson distillery that I have to hand? Or should I go for one of my wines, one of my beers, one of my ciders? Oh, and then I also have a few brandies. Which one should I go for, chat?
Well, it depends on which kind of, I don't know, I guess, kind of, body you're going for with your drinking.
I'm good with light, I'm good with heavy. Makes no difference, and I'm, with my tolerance, the standard rules of never mix dark and light and avoid mixing grape and grain, yeah, those don't really apply to me.
Never mix dark and white is also good advice for society.
God damn. And hello, Sora.
Hello. Happy birthday.
Thank you. Yeah, it's been a good day, and I had a fairly good haul when it came to birthday presents.
I will agree with Pete on the Jameson Black.
Jameson Black Barrel sounds good.
I actually tried something today that I will eventually post a picture of. It just didn't have time to. I'm still doing some work right now, but that you might find interesting, Sanguine, because you like your layered tastes. I purchased a stout, and I'm not a big stout drinker, so it was on clearance. A local liquor store was closing, and it's a kelp stout, so it's from the island here, and they make it with seaweed.
Oh,
they add seaweed to it, and I was like, okay, I don't care if it tastes bad because it's like a third of the price that it usually would be for craft beer, etc. So I was like, okay, let's try it. It is, because I still have some, delicious.
very nice.
It's amazing. I'm like, okay, well, and it's light. It's a 6% alcohol, so it doesn't go to your head. So I was like, oh my god. So I will eventually post a picture, because I was like, Sanguine would appreciate something interesting like this.
I'm laughing as an Oklahoman. You know, 6 point is light. Like, do you know how long we suffered with 3.2?
Oh, that's like fruit juice. That's why you get like
water.
A Rodler.
That's piss water.
That's vanilla extract.
There's a local brewery that makes they alternate between a 9 and a 10% beer, because they mix it with something can't remember what. It's usually like a weird, like they'll mix it with a wine or something. It's good. It's just too strong for me. Like if I'm gonna go that high, I want a spirit, you know, not necessarily a beer.
Have you ever tried a barley one?
I don't think so.
So, in the order of drinks, when it comes to beers, you know how IPAs tend to have a decent amount of alcohol to them, stouts and porters tend to have a decent amount, right?
Mm-hmm.
I have no idea. I've only ever drank lagers.
Yeah, those tend to be more towards the mid to low. A barley wine is effectively someone made wine out of beer ingredients because it is malted grain. It ends up being really dark due to the malt that they use. But then they ferment it for long enough that it hits wine level alcohol contents. So you're looking at somewhere in between like 13 and there's a couple fortified ones that get into the 20s. They are rather delicious. They tend not to be as heavily hopped as like IPAs. IPAs just get hopped to hell most of the time, especially craft IPAs. I don't know what the hell the obsession is with, let's make it taste bitter and nothing else. But
yeah,
I like the malty drinks, which is why I like my stouts and my porters.
Me too. Which it's funny because I think I've only ever had, because I've had different stouts before, which I felt were too bitter.
Mm-hmm.
Which is, or what they'll have here now. Another local brewery will do a chocolate porter, I think, at Christmas.
Oh yeah, those can be amazing or horrendous.
Bad. It's bad. No, it's horrendous. It's on the horrendous side. And I was expecting, because a good friend of mine she'll get 2 6-packs, and these are quite large bottles because they're only made for wintertime, and so limited run every year. So she will stock up, or she'll go and get a growler and fill it up of it. And so I'll be like, okay, well, I don't think you have taste buds. I honestly think they're all dead because this is terrible.
Yeah, I've had really, really damn good chocolate stouts, and I've had really god-awful chocolate stouts. One of my favorite chocolate stouts that I had was at the state fair in my area. Sadly, they didn't have this year. But they had a chocolate stout float that they were doing for a couple years in a row. So it was this amazing, rich, fantastic chocolate stout that they then put in this beautiful Madagascar vanilla ice cream. So you got that really rich, dark, chocolatey stout with that sweet, creamy vanilla ice cream. Unbelievable combination. Just absolutely insane. Was amazing. And if I remember correctly, they also, I'm trying to remember what the other ingredient was, because there's something that gave it just the slightest amount of smoke to the flavor as well.
It's like some sort of smoked tea or something like that. Did they put like teas and I don't know, salt?
I don't think it was a tea, but it might have just been something as simple as like the sugar that they used
or whatever.
Was a smoked sugar, because you can do smoked sugar ice creams, which are really fucking amazing. So it might have just been that they had like a bit of the sugar in the ice cream was smoked, so it had just that right level of, it wasn't overpowering, just that kiss of smoke with the dark chocolatey notes and the sweet, creamy vanilla notes in that. Oh god, it was amazing.
You know, I've only ever had like one beer that would make me talk about it the way that Sanguine's talking about whatever he's talking about right now.
I can do this with scores of different beers.
I know.
See,
no, like we had Oh, go
I
ahead.
make food lascivious when I describe it. And go ahead.
Well, I remember going up to a concert in Oklahoma City. Like I was right out of high school, and I went with a bunch of coworkers. They were all of legal drinking age, and we got there a few hours before the show started. So they wanted to go to a place called Tapworks, which is a giant beer bar. It's like a 2-story beer bar in Bricktown, and that's where I had this. I had this one lager that coworkers brought over a couple pictures of it. It's this German 12-point lager. I don't even remember the name of it, but it went down so smooth, and it was just it tasted good, you know, and it went down nice and smooth. And as soon as it hit my stomach, it felt like I was being hugged from the inside. It was.
So it had the whiskey belly blues.
Ooh, that sounds
I mean,
good.
it was like a nice hot cup of cider on a winter's day, man. It was just And
Sounds
I
good.
think that pretty much ended my beer drinking after that. I was like, nope, I cannot go back to 3.2 Bud Light. Fuck that.
Yep.
I'm spoiled. I can't do this anymore.
That's kind of like
Where have you been all my life?
Exactly.
I think everyone here knows how much I love whiskey, right?
Yes.
I had one of the best
May have mentioned it.
goddamn whiskeys last week or the week before. It was a cask strength Lafroig, and I'm trying to remember the exact name. Actually, I have it on my phone, I think. Let me quickly pull up which one it was, because it was absolutely no mouthfeel, no throat feel, just went down smooth as water. You got that nice smokiness on the tongue, but no alcohol burn, you know what I'm talking about?
Mm-hmm.
And just smooth as water down the throat, then it hit the belly, and just immediately that of warmth going out from the stomach the second that it hit it. It was insane. One of the best goddamn whiskeys I've ever had. And I've had a lot of whiskeys.
There's and as I was telling you with earlier, one of the better ones I've had is there's a moonshine that they sell in the town over from here at their liquor
Apple
store.
pie.
Apple pie.
Oh my God! Is it the smoked
Nice.
Tennessee something?
Every place that makes shine has an apple pie.
Because
I don't know what it
just
is.
tried that
Yeah.
for the first time,
No.
and I honestly think I'm allergic.
Old Smokies is good, but theirs is a little sweet, a little too sweet. I don't remember the name offhand, because it's been forever since I've had one. But it's just enough flavoring to where you can recognize the apple pie, and then it's just strong enough to where you can shoot it, or you can mix it, and it's not it's not one of those ones where you take a shot and you just sort of like okay, it's good.
Yeah, I just looked up the name because, like I said, I had it on my phone. And it is the Lafroig Cardias 2017 quarter cask strength whiskey. It is fucking amazing. The place that I had that also has a number of other cask strengths, so I am, over the course of time, going to drink my way through their entire whiskey cellar when it comes to their cask strengths.
Hey Johnny, guess what? The Washington football team won a game.
Their first game in what? Forever?
They beat the Giants by 1 point. So like the Giants are 0-2, and the Washington football team is 1-1. It's been over a year. Pick a fucking name. Come on.
I don't think they should. I like the name. I think it's perfectly terrible.
No, I want to see what kind of pandering bullshit they come up with, Terry. You know?
No. See, what you need to do is they aren't allowed to pick a name until they've won another game. They need at least 2 wins under their belt before they can actually get a name again.
No. I think we should see how long we can keep this going. Like, you have to win a Super Bowl before you can get a new mascot.
I think it's like naming dogs. You should name a dog Deefa. Deefa dog.
God damn it. That's painful.
Oh, good lord.
I want to see that, actually. That's fantastic.
Note to self.
Kind of like smart.
Name dog Deefa. Got it.
I'm just wondering, like, how much longer do the Braves and the Chiefs and the Blackhawks have before they get the old tomahawk chop?
Well, Blackhawks are fine because they're black and therefore woke.
Well, no, that's specifically referencing a tribe, the Chicago Blackhawks.
You're assuming that people are smart enough to realize that they're talking about a tribe and not a bird that happens to be a hawk and black.
I was thinking,
just didn't tell anyone.
I mean, they have like the tribal shit on the jerseys, so it's gonna be kind of hard, you know.
So just wash the jerseys and the shit comes off, and then you can.
But yeah, I'm wondering how much longer they got. I figure if the Chiefs don't make the Super Bowl this year, next year they're getting the axe. Not sure about the Braves. They've managed to slip under the radar thus far. And
they should just add stunning to their name. That'll keep everything.
I think the Blackhawks, I think their ace in the hole is the fact that nobody in America really gives a fuck about hockey. Unless you live in, like, Boston or Chicago.
Or Canada.
Well, I said America.
Well, yeah, but I mean...
Well, I mean, America's a continent, so...
we kind of claim the name first.
Exactly.
Two continents, not just one.
Exactly.
Yeah, there's a north and a south.
And a central.
Central isn't its own continent. It's
not. No.
The vestigial tail of North America.
And
it's the umbilical cord we haven't severed yet.
We built that too, so I mean,
away.
You know.
See, this is one thing that pisses me off to this day, and you just stepped on a landmine that you were not aware was even there. The fucking fact that we gave the goddamn canal back. No, fuck you. You didn't make the canal. We made the canal. It's our fucking canal.
Blame Carter.
We should have maintained it.
Oh, I did not know you gave it back. We never learned about it.
Blame Carter.
We gave the canal back, and they've been fucking it up ever since.
Blame Carter.
Minor correction. You blame Canada, not Carter.
I don't think we ever touched that canal.
Who did we take over? Who did we take it over from building it up? Was it the Spanish?
I want to say. Let me quickly double check, because I'm not 100% sure who we picked up. I know that they tried doing it at one point. They just had all their workers die of horrendous diseases.
Malaria mostly, yeah.
Yeah. And then they went, okay, we're just going to drop it. And we came in and went, nah, fuck it, we're going to do it. Your people will probably die of diseases. Did we fucking stutter?
I will be right back.
Let's see.
Please, talk amongst yourselves.
Yep, I'm just quickly pulling up the info on the canal. So, I'm also keeping conversation going. How are you guys doing while I'm looking up the information on the Venezuela? On the canal, rather.
My last couple days at work have been a little trying. As I have stated previously, the worst part of customer service is the customer.
Oh, yeah.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And, yesterday I was supposed to go... Like, I can't just drop a call. So when I was supposed to pick up my youngest kid at about 3, and my elder boy about 3:15, and then take them home, get back to work, eat sometime between there with something I've had before, set aside for that. And the conversation could have ended around 2:45. Okay. There's just enough time for me to finish up my notes, leave a little bit later, because if I leave later, then by the time it takes me an hour to get to school, to the house, back to work. So I get to the end of the conversation, and I'm like, okay, I do a recap. Anything else I can help you with? Well, what about this? And I'm like, okay, it's going to make me a little late. Yeah, not too bad. So I answer that question, and she goes, well, don't they need this information? Because da-da-da-da-da. And I'm like, yes, and we can send it to them. But I need to contact them first. And being that they are 2 time zones away, they're closed. So I'm going to have to do it tomorrow. And so she goes, okay, well, and then she goes, well, and then I'm just like, lady, shut the fuck up. I don't want to talk to you anymore. I didn't say it, but the conversation kept going with just mundane shit that either is filled with either her complaining or stuff that I have already told her several times already. And I'm like, okay. And by the time we got off the phone, it was just a little after 3. So we spent an extra 15 or so minutes just padding her bullshit with stuff that she already knew, and I didn't need to tell her.
Ugh, I hate those people. You know what I don't know how in trouble you'll get to do this, but you put them on hold and say, oh shoot, something's just wrong with my system. 1 second, you put them on hold, and then you hang up.
Nice.
Wait about 10 seconds while they're on hold, and then just end the call.
Well, if I wasn't being recorded, I wouldn't have a problem with that.
Oh, and
I mean, how, if you then immediately put in a ticket and say something happened, I put a call on hold, and they just cut the phone.
Well, they have audio and video.
Oh,
they record both.
Okay, well that just put a damper on that idea.
I mean, I could just do the Chevy Chase, and then just power off my computer at the time, and just crash the whole thing. So that could have done, but I don't know what happened. It just turned off.
I just looked up the nations that tried to build the canal before we went in, and we actually fucking did it. And it started with Spain said, hey, we should start looking into building this canal, back when they were the colonial power of that area. And they put in time to figure out how much or how hard it would be to build the canal, and a bunch of their people died. So they went, never mind. Then France came in. France went, hey, we're going to build a canal. Their people died. Eventually they decided, never mind. And then we picked up and we went, we're going to build this fucking canal. Fuck everyone else. And we succeeded. We built the goddamn canal. It was our canal. It should still be our canal. Or at the very least, if we were going to be dumb enough to yield the canal because, it's getting expensive to maintain the canal, what you then do is you make it as part of yielding the canal to the to fucking Panama and them going, oh, okay, now we have the canal, so this is a massive source of revenue. Go, yeah, but any of our ships that come through, we come through for fucking free and we have priority, motherfucker. If you aren't going to keep it, at least negotiate so that we have an absolute goddamn sweetheart deal from it. But no, we did none of that. We gave it back, and now we're paying to go through the fucking canal that we goddamn built.
Yeah, that seems pretty shitty, actually.
And it's all because our president was goddamn retarded at the time.
No,
I noticed
Biden wasn't in yet.
We've had retarded presidents before Biden. Biden's just going through the list of hits from the shittiest presidents and trying to repeat all of them.
He's like one of those comics who just steals jokes.
Yep. Only he does them worse. Yeah, it is blame Carter for this. And then Biden has been trying to emulate Carter. I mean, look at the inflation rate, the severing of U.S. petrochem independence, the pretty much everything, allowing American citizens to become prisoners of foreign powers that absolutely fucking hate us, and then
Yeah, that's very stupid.
going to negotiate with them when there was a reason why people would not really kidnap American citizens in other nations. Anyone care to guess what that reason was?
They come
Wouldn't
guns
pay to get it
blazing.
Yeah, we had this well-known policy of we do not negotiate with terrorists.
Oh, right.
You took one of our citizens?
Oh,
Okay,
well.
we're going to get them back. Oh, you're going to come to the table to make a deal? No. We're going to get them back. You're going to die. That's the deal. But we have them, and aren't you afraid that they'll be killed if you try to come in? We will get them back one way or another, and if we have to come get them, you're going to die. This is why a lot of different areas, it's not unusual for a French citizen to be kidnapped in those areas, or for a Canadian citizen to be kidnapped in those areas, but an American citizen doesn't. It was because we had this well-known policy of we will fucking murder you to get our people back. And if they die in the process, we will make sure that your entire cell is ripped from the ground, root and all.
We'll send in a team of commandos to shoot you in the face, and if that doesn't work, we will rain hellfire down from above, motherfucker.
Yep. And when you have that policy, the first couple times, yeah, someone will try to call your bluff. See if...
But enough people fuck around and
bullshitting.
find out, people
Yeah.
start getting the hint.
Once they start realizing, oh yeah, those Somali pirates that took that American ship, whatever happened to them? Their heads were popped from a ridiculous distance away by a bunch of SEAL snipers that were in a wave-swept little dinghy. And those Somali pirates were also on a wave-swept vessel, but yeah, they managed to get them each with one shot all at the same time. Who's gonna take one of our boats hostage when that's the press going around? Fucking no one. And we did that for everything. It would be, okay, you took hostages, they were Americans, you're dead. You're dead unless you give them right now. And then Carter fucked up because he was effectively negotiating. And we
That shows weakness.
Yep, that shows weakness. And they were released
I will be right back.
effectively once it was obvious that Carter was not going to be president after.
Didn't
period of
they
time?
release them like the day that Reagan got inaugurated?
They released them, I think, the day that it was announced that Reagan won.
Oh, I thought it was like they waited until Carter was out of office, just a one final thumb in the eye.
Ah, okay. Perhaps it was that they waited until his inauguration. But the thing was that they waited until they realized, oh, we aren't going to be dealing with Carter, and this guy has made it very clear. We will come and we will fucking murder you in your sleep. We don't give a shit. You are goddamn dead if we have to come. And they went, okay, here's the people back.
Well, and also, like, we'd already made one attempt to go get him, which failed spectacularly. But how many times do you want to let the United States take a bite at that apple? Really?
Yep.
Because I've listened to interviews with guys that were on Operation Eagle Claw, and they said, yeah, we were planning to go back, and he said, one of them said that if the helicopters hadn't, had their accident at Desert One, if they'd managed to get on the target at the embassy, he's like, yeah, we could have rescued them. In the middle of Tehran, we could have done it, yeah.
And to respond to what Raymond Lewis said, he was referencing the Barber Pirates.
Oh, yeah.
Were also the sometimes referred to as the Pirates of Tripoli.
The Barbary Coast.
Yep, the Barbary Coast, the Pirates of Tripoli. There's a reason why in the Marine Corps hymn, it's from the hulls of Montezuma
to the shores of
Tripoli. And yeah, we were having our shipping lines raided. We had people kidnapped by the Barbary pirates. This was a thing that had been happening for fucking centuries. I think if you look at when the Barbary pirates started their raids on Europe until when they ended, it's something like 1,100 years or some shit. Because if I remember correctly, the Barbary pirate coast started raiding Europe around the same time as the conquest by the Moors of Spain. They started their raiding. And it continued until...
Weren't the Moors in Spain for like 700 years? Or something like that?
They kept coming back. There's that whole like Horn of Spain at the bottom where if you go visit, you go into their like holy temples area, you'll see where Catholic church, then mosque, church, mosque, church, mosque. Is very, very cool.
Yep.
And you follow by archaeology and just by decoration of God, the houses of God, you can see the timeline of more conquest.
Yeah, and the Barbary pirates were insanely effective and were able to pull off shit that everyone else was going, yeah, there's no way in hell that anyone would be able to do that. Like, did you guys know that the Barbary pirates raided fucking England for slaves?
No, because my history classes, they barely touched on the Barbary slave trade. It was all about the American slave trade. That's the one they really wanted to hammer home.
The Barbary pirates, at a time when England was effectively the undisputed masters of the sea, raided England.
Now,
in the 16th or 17th century, or during the 16th and 17th century, rather, there were several times where Barbary pirates raided the coast of England, attacking ships, raiding towns and villages, and taking slaves from England during, again, the 16th and 17th century.
Now, what were the numbers on the Barbary slave trade? How many Europeans did they sell into slavery? It was in the millions, wasn't it?
Oh, if you're talking throughout the entire length, yeah, it's easily in the millions, if not tens or perhaps even hundreds. Because, like I said, they were doing it for fucking 1,100 years.
And all we really get, or at least in my history classes, the only thing we really got was, oh yeah, Thomas Jefferson sent the Marines over to get them to stop, taking Americans hostage. That was really the only thing that was mentioned about the Barbary slave trade in any of my history classes.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even remember if we touched on them. We probably did.
Well, I think the reason why we got even that little crumb was because it's the United States Marine Corps. That's one of the big things. It's in the freaking song and everything.
Yeah, it's in their hymn.
I think that's really the main reason why we even learned about it, is because down here there's still a fairly good tradition of people joining the military. And in Oklahoma, a lot of folks either go Army or Marines.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And there's some that go Air Force. Not as many go Navy. I mean, landlocked state. What are you gonna do?
Yeah, one of the incidents where they raided the UK was the sacking of Baltimore. This is Baltimore, the city in Ireland, not Baltimore, or the town or city in Ireland, not Baltimore, Maryland, Baltimore. But the Barbary pirates set upon Baltimore with over 200 corsairs armed with muskets, iron bars, and sticks of burning wood, landed on the shore of Baltimore and silently spread out, waiting at the front doors of the cottages along the shoreline and homes in the main village. When a signal was given, they simultaneously charged into the homes, pulling the sleeping inhabitants from their beds. Men, women, and children, 107 in all, in this one raid, were dragged to the ships and began their long voyage back to Algiers. And they were all sold into slavery. Like I said, this is at one of the points where England was effectively... It was England and Spain were the undisputed masters of the sea at this point. And they were getting raided by the Barbary pirates.
Since we're on the subject of the sea and whatnot, I do kind of want to ask a question about something in the news. Hey, Terry.
Yeah.
How do you feel about having nuclear subs now, my man?
I have no idea what this is in reference to. I don't pay much attention to the news if I can help it.
Apparently, there's a trilateral security partnership now between the U.S., the UK, and Australia.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess we're
What
giving
the
you
hell,
guys
Canada? Why
nuclear...
are we left out of this?
I mean,
because
you guys are led by a
busy...
Castro. That's why.
Yeah, I was about to say,
expect?
Trudeau's too busy bending over for the Chi-Coms rather than trying to stick it to them.
Wow.
Then why is Australia allowed in?
Well,
Yeah, some that are trying to avoid it. Just, the majority of you guys are kind of...
I think it's probably because
Thank you,
Australia
Brevard.
called more shenanigans on China than just about anybody else.
Yeah. I suppose we had to. They're a lot closer to us.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I saw I have a bad habit of scrolling Twitter while I'm on stream, and yeah, apparently the Times has an article: "Is the West entering a Cold War with China?" Entering?
Been gone for a while.
I mean,
Yep. Though I have heard some good things that makes it sound like they're about to commit suicide.
China?
Nice. Yep.
Oh, I'm all ears, man. What you hearing?
There's motions within China that they're effectively going to be trying to do a second cultural revolution.
Oh yeah, like with the
God.
ban on video gaming and everything.
Yep, they're bans on a shit ton of things. They're apprehending a lot of their well-known Chinese celebrities are being detained by the government.
Or just being erased from the internet, like try.
Yep.
Yeah, like
Is this for being too feminine? Because I did hear about that.
yeah,
there
the feminine Chinese pop stars they're getting rid of.
Oh yeah.
Well, there's that too. There's that too. But like, there was that one actress. She's like a billionaire in China, and they completely wiped the internet history of her, like she never existed.
Christ. Is she still alive?
Yeah. If I'm not mistaken, I think she's I think they got her on like evading taxes or something like that.
Yeah, sure.
And
that's the claim anyway.
Yeah.
There's also a bunch of the wealthy Chinese businessmen over the past few years have been disappearing.
Has anybody heard from Jack Ma lately? When's the last time he popped up?
Disappeared.
Well, he like disappeared for a while, and then he like popped his head up like a fucking groundhog, and I haven't heard anything about him since.
I did think it was funny. Sargon agreed with China when it came to banning the video games for little kids. And he's like, in his house, he's actually more strict than the Chinese government.
Well,
when it comes to letting his kid play video games.
There's a difference between you being a responsible parent and you letting the fucking government do it, though. I mean, surely he understands that.
Of course. I'm just saying it's funny that Sargon was like, I don't think they're doing anything wrong.
Again, you know, I see where he's coming from, but that's got to be some hyperbole on his part. I'm hoping.
I think so, yes.
I
hope so.
Jack Ma was one of the ones that was disappeared. And he's one of, I want to say it's around a dozen of these Chinese.
Because he's like their Bezos, isn't he? He's the one that runs or was.
Is that Alibaba guy?
Yeah, yep. I think that's the Alibaba guy.
The guy who started up Alibaba, and yeah, he disappeared. No one's making any comments about where he is. There's been a score or more, or rather, about a score. I don't think it's gotten to more yet, but there's been about a score of them that have vanished over the past couple years, with only one or two popping back up, and one of those popped back up before dying in a rather interesting circumstance. And the other one...
The good news is you just got to find 40 thieves. I mean, they're the ones who did it.
Nice. And the other one that popped up, effectively popped up, started just praising China as much as he could and signed over everything that he had to the Chinese government. Which makes it fairly fucking clear what the offer was there.
Your money or your life.
Your money, your respect, and your ridiculously professed loyalty, or we will fucking just have you disappear entirely. You've heard of the other people within your group that have disappeared. Yeah, we know where they went. But with that sort of shit, then they're also pulling back on the amount that they're allowing foreign investors to invest within China. Because they've been doing that for a while. Now they're pulling back on that. They've ridiculously drew back how many of their, effectively their version of the work visa that they allow within the country.
Mm-hmm.
Which it used to be a massive market for people to go to China and teach English, for example.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes. They would
actively
actively. I know here they actively have camps for that. They would to invite students. Yeah.
They would actively recruit for that. I think 4 major companies that were doing that. One of them has already gone bankrupt because China started going, yeah, your people aren't allowed to work anymore. And the other 3 are not far behind. So those in that sector of their economy, that sector of their business is dying. because they're pulling back damn near everything in order to purge the Western influence from China.
And that can only work out for them in the long run, right?
Yeah.
Like I said, China's effectively committing suicide because people keep on forgetting why China is what China is right now.
They keep stealing all of our shit, that's why.
They stole a lot of our shit. Also, they allowed foreign investors in. Because there seems to be this group of people, I don't know where the fuck they got this idea, that believe that China was doing amazingly well before it started allowing investors in. And no, China was damn near dying. China was going the way of late Soviet Union. And then it started to open up again, allowing in foreign investors. When it started allowing in foreign investors, it had this massive boom that happened. The education rate within China exploded. The standard of living within China exploded. This was all from letting in foreign investors and allowing for a certain amount of private enterprise. And yeah, a lot of that seems to be going away again.
Oh, fuck you, Reuters. I want to read this story. This sounds good. South Carolina police arrest lawyer who allegedly plotted his own shooting.
Nice.
He's charged with conspiring to have himself shot dead so his son could collect a $10 million insurance payout.
Oh, that's so sad. That's really sad, actually.
And apparently Reuters is behind a paywall now. This is like the second or third article this week I've tried to click on of theirs that I can't read.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I want to know like what this dude had going on. He's like, yeah, let's just go ahead, bite the bullet literally, and get my kid paid.
Mm-hmm. But
That's
yeah.
sad.
I mean, I think if you're that committed to hire your own assassin, you should just get the $10 million. I mean, like if you've already done the legwork of contracting a hitman, you deserve it.
Like, I wonder how they found that out. Did the hitman just like not like lawyers and just
Decent
rat him
chance.
out?
Crisis of conscience from a hitman.
Or there's a decent chance that, like, a lot of the time, it wasn't.
It was a
It
sting.
was a fed. It was a
Yeah.
fed. Anytime you talk to somebody who's willing to kill somebody for money, just assume you're talking to a fed.
Or at least check if they've got a barcode on the back of their head.
Uh-huh. Yes.
You need to make sure that you have someone who has used their services before.
That's a good point, yes. It must be tough for a starting hitman, like, to get work, because how do you establish trust?
Well,
Yeah.
did you guys hear that story? Was it a couple years ago now? Like, somebody got busted for hiring a hitman, and then like the hitman subcontracted to another hitman who subcontracted to another hitman. It was like a fucking Russian nesting doll.
I reckon if you're going to start off as a new hitman, you got to give some freebies to show that you're.
Well, I think by the time they got down to like the last guy, he was doing it for like $500 on a Happy Meal or some shit. It was ridiculous what this guy was willing to kill somebody for.
Outsourcing your kill. Oh wow. Hey, you know what? At least it shows there's a growth in economy.
Yeah.
I wonder if the way that you get into hitman work is you have to do a few pro bono jobs first. And
Yeah, that's what I said.
Is it like SAG after you got to get your card? You got to pay your dues first.
Yeah. Oh god.
do you start with just you're in somewhere where there's someone powerful and it becomes will someone rid me of this preacher type moment?
Won't someone rid me of this meddlesome priest?
Yep. I was trying to remember the exact word, and
That's literally the only quote from that I know.
is it meddlesome? I thought it was a different word.
I've always heard it as meddlesome.
I think it depends if you're going by the actual quote or the Blackadder quote. Because in Blackadder, he goes, "Well, no one rid me of this turbulent priest."
Oh, that might be it. That might be it.
Yes.
And then the assassin overhears that, not realizing that the king was quoting to his wife what the previous king had said.
Yep.
And so he sets out to kill Blackadder, who's now the Archbishop of Canterbury.
Yep, it's the "will no one rid me of this turbulent priest."
There you go.
Exactly right.
I don't know why, but I've always heard it as meddlesome.
I think that's a common way of kind of bringing the wording up to more modern.
Okay. My whole life has been a lie.
That's that Mandela effect going on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah.
It's also been adapted as "won't someone rid me of this troublesome priest?"
Yeah, that's another one. Fair. Hey, Johnny, did you check your Twitter DMs before we started the show?
Yes, I did.
Did you see what I sent you?
I did see what you sent me.
I am so upset right now.
Are you
I
going to share with
would say
us?
that's a good reason not to check your DMs, Johnny.
I already did.
Yeah, I don't give Johnny warning. I just fire off the message, and I just assume he's going to open it at some point.
No, but as soon as you said, "Have you checked your DMs?" it should be like, "And now I never will."
Nice.
Well, to clue everybody else in, I was trying to watch each episode of Reservation Dogs as it came out, and I finally stopped for like episode 3.
I stopped it too.
I mean, I think the 3rd episode was fairly decent. I made it to 4. I made it to 4. That's what it was, and that was just retarded. But apparently, Bill Burr guested in an episode of Reservation Dogs, and it's like I was already done with the show. I didn't want to watch it anymore. It's like, oh great, now I got to go back. Got to see. I got to see what they subjected Bill Burr to.
So how bad did it get?
I don't know. I just saw it today that he was on an episode. I was like, oh shit.
Well, and just judging by all like the comments I've seen on the thread,
I don't trust any of the
that
comments I've seen. Okay.
Well, on the thread that you had, yeah, it's all Bill Burr love.
Yeah, it's a tongue bath.
Yeah.
That was similar to me with the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, where once they changed the actress for Aunt Viv, I was like, fuck it, I don't like this show anymore. I'm not going to watch it, except for the Trump episode. It's like, okay, there's an episode with Trump in it. I have to watch that one. But the rest, no, I don't like the new Aunt Viv.
Well, the last one, episode 3 was kind of all right. Like the plot of that one, it was decent. It still wasn't funny. I mean, for a comedy show. But all the goodwill.
As Johnny found out, it is funny if you've lived the life.
Yes, it's only funny if you live the life.
Just a life.
The life.
The life is as I was. This show has turned natives into racists. Not that they weren't before, but still.
I was gonna say, I've known plenty of Indians, and they were all racist.
No, it's funny because I just went I on my Facebook. I just go, as it turns out, a lot of my friends are racist, but don't worry, I don't like white people that much either.
No, I mean, considering where this is supposed to be located, I should damn near be a subject matter expert, and yeah, it's nowhere near close.
Then you lived the wrong life, clearly.
Oh, must have, So much for my truth and my lived experience, right?
Well, if yours disagrees with theirs, then yeah.
Yeah, then it doesn't matter. Your life experience only counts if it's the right life experience.
Exactly.
Just like how they'll say that if a white guy has experienced some sort of persecution due to being white, which there are areas where you absolutely would, it's not a common experience, so they can just ignore that. If a black person hasn't experienced it, then, well, they're clearly privileged due to some reason or another, so they can ignore that.
Internalized white supremacy.
Yep. So they have a canned response that allows them to ignore everyone that doesn't automatically agree with them.
So, thinking about that, the kid that I went to school with, that Campbell knows as the professor.
I want to meet this guy so bad. I just want to talk to him.
I was telling him. He goes, because I told him, I'm a mixed race kid.
Mm-hmm.
I go, so being raised on a reservation. He goes, okay. I go, so I've had kids come up to me and either like push me down and try to beat up my brother because he's a white kid, and we're hanging out with the native kids, so the native kids are throwing rocks at us and shit because we're the lighter skinned kids. He goes, okay. I go, now we have some of the white kids who are beating up some of our native friends because they're hanging out with the lighter skinned kids and the white kid. Okay. I go, so who's the racist? And he goes, well, the white guy's beating up the kids. And I go, okay, so despite my having the exact same experience against both the native kids and the white kids, I'm not a victim of racism? And he goes, no. I go,
yep.
Because of the fact that I'm a Native American. He goes, well, no, it's because your skin's too light.
Yep.
And I go, isn't that what fucking racism is? And he goes, well, no, it's because your skin's too white.
Yeah, it's the inverse one-drop rule. Where it used to be, when the Democrats were the virulent racists in the South, that if you had one drop of non-white blood in you, then you weren't considered white. Now it is that, well, the Democrats are the virulent racists in pretty much everywhere, that if you have one drop of white blood, then that's clearly a sign that you're inferior.
Yeah, I'm lucky. Mine's red.
Yeah. For some reason, they don't really want to recognize that, though.
Don't we all, Terry?
Well, that's the great thing about being an Indian. Like, we still have, blood quantums, so one drop rule still applies.
Yep.
I know people that are as little Choctaw as Elizabeth Warren claimed to be Indian. And they still have all the same benefits that I do. Like, I could punch you in the nose and you would bleed out all of your Indian in like 2 seconds. And yeah. So, like, I've literally met a card-carrying Choctaw tribal member who was 1/512th Choctaw.
Wait. Say that again?
1/512.
How does that even still count?
Right?
You're so diluted, you're not even, like, on the board anymore.
Yeah.
Well, I do have to say, that's what, twice Elizabeth Warren's?
Well, yeah, I say I know, because she had a kid who was 1/1024th.
Like, what does that give you anything special? Like, can you still claim things?
Yeah, I mean, you're still technically considered, as long as you have tribal membership.
Depends on the tribe, and their allowances.
Now, if you're a tribal member and you're less than 1/4, you cannot serve as a member of the tribal council or as a chief or assistant chief. So, like, I am precluded from ever being a member of my tribal government because I am registered as 1/8. I can still vote. I can still receive benefits through the tribe, healthcare services, housing, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But I cannot actually serve in the government.
I reckon I should get a test done. Maybe I can be like 165,536th Indian and get like free shit.
No, see, you'll end up like me. You'll get your blood tested, and it is, I didn't know they made people this white.
Well, I know my grandparents were Egyptians, so I can't be like total white.
Okay.
So
you have a bit more
very
variety
nice.
than me, because I had the DNA testing to see where your heritage is, just for
Well,
shits and giggles.
I say Egyptian. They were born in Egypt, but they're Greek because you didn't get like birthright citizenship back then. So they're Greek, but they were born in Egypt.
Well, my orthodontist was Alexandrian, but again, it's actually British. Was actually British. He's passed away many years now, but because he was born in Alexandria, and his family was there since the turn of the century, he can say, "Yeah, I'm Alexandrian," when that meant something.
So the next time we see Terry, he's going to be Terry Umbutu Diamantis.
But yeah, when I went for the genetic testing just for shits and giggles, it came back where 99.5% of my lineage was able to be traced to the UK, to include Ireland, then Germany, and Frisia. So those 4 areas accounted for 99.5%. 0.4% was general northwestern Europe, with 0.1% being just general European.
Well, I don't know if it's true or not, but I heard that one of those genealogy companies would actually put less than 1% black on every report, even if the number was 0, because they wanted to fuck with racists.
Just to troll with racists, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So that's one reason why I would not get a DNA test, because I've already seen that at least one, I think multiple companies have actually been outed for doing stuff like that.
This company
2,
did not do that. Not a single drop, according to them, was anything but the whitest of white.
the second reason
scared
would be,
of having my stuff kept somewhere and somehow associated back to me.
Well, that's how they got the Golden State Killer. Is they didn't get his DNA; they had one of his relatives' DNA in like a genealogy database.
Yep.
That the government, So, I mean, you put that in there, and now maybe you didn't commit a crime, but maybe somebody you're related to did. They're using your DNA to get somebody else.
If anyone in my family did something like murder, then I'm fine with them using my DNA to catch the prick. If it's done for something like, not wearing a mask outside, then no.
The only problem I really have with it, though, is that chain of custody at that point. How do you know that the DNA you sent in hadn't been degraded and some poor sap, who's got a lightning bolt's chance of being, wrongly accused, actually gets struck by lightning.
Mm-hmm.
And then also, like with going back to Elizabeth Warren, the tribes don't use genetic testing for anything other than paternity. We're not keeping track of like your quantum of DNA. We're going based off of paperwork, your actual genealogy, and the only time we're going to test your DNA to see if you're an Indian is in the case of a paternity test.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like I said, when I apparently did not go for one of the companies that decided that they would always add that small percent, because I damn near got like a warning letter saying, beware of moonburns.
Beware of moonbirds. So,
Well, yeah,
so we now
I
know how white. That white.
I joke
like
that,
I've said
you know,
before, I can probably generate vitamin D in indirect moonlight.
I've joked that because I'm a night owl and my dad is a very, very white individual, that I enjoy my moon tan. If I were to actually go out in the sun for any length of time, I would brown up. But I'm a night person by nature, so I rarely see the sun if I can help it.
I'm an indoor person by nature, so I also don't see the sun.
Well, there's that too. You know, it's granted it's still September, but it's still hot as balls out here. So I'm staying inside as much as I can.
I'm white enough. I almost lost my ears to the sun.
They got that burnt.
Yeah, I was in the Florida Keys during college for a marine biology course, and we had sunscreen that one of the other people had purchased because we were all split up to buy various things for the entire group. So one of them had been assigned to sunscreen, and they had bought what they thought would be more than enough for everyone. They had bought SPF 80 and slathered on the SPF 80. After about 2 days of doing the marine biology course, my ears had burnt to the point where the cartilage started to show in the top of the loop, and it looked like a melted candle.
No, thank you.
I didn't even know it went past 24, because I remember as a kid they always used to say make sure you put SPF 24 on if you're going to go outside.
Yep.
Unlike on all the ads and stuff.
That's the thing. People will constantly say, oh yeah, but sunscreen is all the same after it goes between like 25 and 35 is what most people say.
Yeah.
That's not accurate. The thing that is accurate is that for the average person, yes, everything over 35 doesn't fucking matter. Because you max out at about that SPF 35. If you are as ridiculously white as I am,
You might as well be just using Crisco.
100 plus is the bare minimum that you should ever use. So
I still think not going outside is the correct course of action.
that's effectively what I end up doing. I hide myself away from the sun when that accursed burning orb is in the sky. But yeah, like I said, I was in the Florida Keys. My ears started to look like melted candles due to the sunburn that I got. So I had to bandage up the top of my ear and then go out and get SPF 100 plus and use that for the rest of the trip. My ears, thankfully, because I heal rather well, sealed back up without any issue. But like I said, I just had melted wax ears for a while during that trip.
See, I had a similar situation a few years back. I was working in a garden center, and I hadn't had an outside job in a while.
Mm-hmm.
So I was spending like 8-10 hours a day outside moving plants and making sure they were watered and all that other good stuff. And like my ears started blistering, and at first I couldn't tell if it was. At first I thought, I was like, am I allergic to one of these plants out here? Because maybe I like touched my ears, you know, something. And it's like they're just bubbling up. And I was like,
second degree burn, right?
yeah, pretty much.
Mm-hmm. I had one of those.
But the
over
great
my
thing,
entire back at one point.
the great thing was it looked like my ears were melting off, but the rest of me was brown, like just like a honey glazed ham. It was just
nice.
I guess how, depending on how thin and delicate the skin is how you reacted to the sun.
Well, like I said, I hadn't been. It had been a year since I had actually been in a job where I was working outside. Like I'd had either an office job or working overnight graveyard shifts. So, I'd stayed out of direct sunlight for a good long while. But
it was also probably that his ears had more sustained direct sunlight than any other segment. So
like from like the elbows down on my arms, and then like my neck, my face, my ears.
Yep, it was probably everything else was sliding in and out of direct sunlight, and just the tips of your ears kept in direct sunlight for the majority of the time.
No.
Yeah, but it looked like they were starting to just melt right off of the side of my face.
Mm-hmm.
Your poor ears.
Oh, I mean, they're fine now.
Yeah, but then I'm just like, oh.
Yeah. It was not a fun time.
Yeah, I mean, shit. I've had sunburns when I was an EMT from driving down the highway in the ambulance, and just my arm that was positioned towards the window was enough direct sunlight that I burnt the fuck out of my arm.
Oh, what was that? Was that The Day After Tomorrow? Or was that 2012? Which disaster movie was it where the dude had his arm hanging out like he was on the bridge, and all of a sudden like it just like starts, just immediate sunburn before the bridge starts collapsing?
Oh, I know the one that you're talking about. I can't remember which one it was though.
Yeah, it's one of those two, because those are my two favorite like disaster movies because they're just so ridiculous.
And Peter, that was fairly good. He said that he's finally discovered my weakness, my Achilles ear.
Very good, very good.
I spent the majority of watching 2012 just praying that John Cusack died.
I can understand why.
I forgot for a minute you were talking about the movie.
Yeah. Well, his character. Yeah.
I was trying to say.
I wish no
Nothing
ill
you
will
do.
on the actual person that is John Cusack, even though he's a nutty fucker. But yeah, in that movie, I just wanted to watch. I just wanted to see him die, because they put him in just one ridiculous scenario after another. It's like, yeah, he'd have been dead like the first earthquake. Let's be honest.
Though, I do have to give credit to John Cusack. He was in one of my favorite movies of all time.
Which was
Gross Point Blank.
Fair enough. Yeah. Did you ever watch the sequel they try to make for that?
War Inc. Right?
Oh God. Yeah.
It was such a weird fucking movie.
It was so bad.
See, it was bad to the point where it was amusing to me.
It had nothing really in common at all. Because like I remember seeing it, I was like, oh, that's kind of a weird movie, you know.
Mm-hmm.
That was back during the Bush administration that was made, wasn't it?
I think so. It might have been
late Bush, early Obama.
Early Obama, yeah.
Yeah. And like after I saw it, I was like, oh yeah, this is supposed to be like an indirect kind of sequel to Grosse Pointe Blank. I was like, fuck off.
It had some of the humor, but it just dialed up the humor way too high for it to be a proper successor.
I didn't find anything about it humorous, really.
It was the absurdity that it went for when it came to the humor. I mean, Operation Chicken Hawk.
I think it was just a really ham-fisted kind of critique on the Bush administration. To be honest, I didn't.
Oh, it absolutely was that as well, but it was more ripping into Cheney and.
Yeah, but I mean, I just felt like they were just beating me over the head with it. I didn't find it humorous.
True.
So, like Grosse Pointe Blank, it didn't really feel like it had a message that it was trying to, shove down your throat. It was just, kind of a quirky, 90s movie to me.
Mm-hmm. And Peter's asking if we've seen the thing that we were actually talking about right before the show today, which was the Brevard County shooting. Or was that right after we started the show? Did we continue talking about the Brevard County?
No, I think that was before we got started. I don't think Sora was here when we were talking about that. So yeah, I think it was before the show started.
So yes, I did see the thing about the Brevard County shooting. It sounded like one or two of you had heard something but didn't really know the entire story. Sora, have you heard anything about the Brevard
No,
County?
I'm sorry. I tend to be so out of touch right now with everything that's going around here, so I'm very sorry.
No worries at all. So what happened was the cops were pulling over this vehicle that they saw that was speeding down the road.
Mm-hmm.
The vehicle had something like 3 grown men and then a child or 2 in the back seat as well.
Mm-hmm.
So it was 1 grown man in the back seat, 2 grown men up front, child or 2 in back seat with the 1 dude back there. So the cops pull them over, start doing the normal, hey, can we get license, registration? And the cops are just going about their job, perfectly standard, having really courteous and cordial conversation with the guys as they're going through all the normal shit. And there was something about the IDs, if I remember correctly, where they asked the guys if they could get out, of the vehicle for a moment, and the driver went back and started talking to the police officer near the police car. The other officer let the guy in the front seat get out by himself, was directing him where to stand, and as he's doing that, he doesn't have eyes on the third guy that was in the vehicle. The third guy that was in the vehicle grabs a long arm of some sort. I think it was either a AR-15 variant or an AK variant. I can't remember which one. But it was one of the ones that the media would report as an assault rifle.
Mm-hmm.
And he, as the officer was coming back to open the door and ask him to move to the side, he bursts out of the door, immediately starts opening fire on the officers.
The hell?
He shoots one of the officers in the leg. The officers start returning fire while trying to get into cover, not shoot the other 2 men who, the moment that shots started getting fired, just kind of ran off and ducked down somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And trying not to harm the kid in the back of the car. Oh yeah, and there was apparently a puppy in the back, according to Pete.
Oh.
So they were trying not to shoot the dog, not to shoot the kid, but to deal with this madman who opened fire on them. Like I said, one of the officers got shot in the leg, and his pistol ran dry because these officers just had pistols. They did not have any larger arms, just pistols. So the officer had his pistol run dry. He went to the side of the cop car that his partner was on to reload, and also, because he'd been shot in the leg, to kind of go, fuck!
In front of the children? Really? That's uncalled for.
As you're wont to do when you get shot in the leg, right? You just want to get the fuck out and just bitch to someone. I know.
Nah, man, Terry's a real man. He'd be like, fiddlesticks.
But
in front of children, even.
As he dips round to the side of the police car with his partner had just fired off a couple shots, then went back into cover. So he wasn't able to see the other side of the car as his partner came from that side, and the attacker ran round the police car after the partner. His rifle had thankfully jammed, preventing him from being able to fire further, but he had decided that he would beat these 2 officers to death with the rifle. So as he comes round, the officer who had been shot in the leg was reloading, manages to reload his pistol, and the guy comes round, cracks the skull of one of the officers with the butt of his rifle, and is about to land another blow on the officer's head when the one that had just reloaded mag dumped the offender. The offender died. Then people have been trying to pick apart this situation and bitch and moan about how the officers handled it, including during the press briefing, whatever the fuck you want to call it, where the sheriff for the county, because these were not police officers, these were county deputies, so slightly different, but it's just easier saying police officer. So the sheriff was talking to the media about this in a press release, and from the questions he could tell where the media was trying to angle. And it was either someone had come very close to or had just outright asked the question, why did they fire so many shots in this incident? To which this sheriff said one of the best goddamn lines I've ever heard in response to this type of situation, which was, they were dealing with someone who was pure fucking evil, and you can't kill evil too much.
Nice.
Yeah. Absolutely just, yes!
I got something else that we talked about before the show started, because I'm seeing more and more people commenting on it. Sarah Silverman.
Oh. What's she done?
Oh, okay, so you're not aware, Sora.
No. If it's on Twitter, I haven't really been on Twitter for like 3 weeks.
Clever girl. No, she's got a podcast apparently, the Sarah Silverman podcast.
Okay.
And apparently, yeah. Apparently, a few days ago, she posted a clip from her podcast to Twitter, and it says, maybe we should break up. And she is talking about the United States. And she's comparing the left-right divide in our country to a dysfunctional relationship. And when you're in a relationship and you aren't getting along, you break up. You don't stay together. You know, maybe we should break up the country. You know, have 2 or 3 different USAs.
Yeah.
And
Canada or Quebec's been trying that for a very long time.
Well, I was willing to write it off as just Sarah Silverman having another brain fart, because she does that quite a bit. But I'm seeing other people like embracing this idea, like on the opposite side of Sarah Silverman, like Jesse Kelly. He's like, she's 100% right. We have nothing in common. We're the married couple screaming and throwing things at each other every night. There's no need to live like this. We hate each other. It's time for a national divorce. Sucks, but that's life. It's best for everyone. And it's like, yeah, okay, so let's assume that we go ahead and divide this country up into at least 2 different nation states.
Could it be North and the South?
No, it wouldn't be North and South. It would be
the coast
versus
and
Central.
Yeah. And
so the coast versus the food belt?
Yeah, it would be the coast
and
that
the
produce
oil and...
Yeah, it would be the coast versus the section of the country that produces everything.
And what I'm thinking is hilarious is like, you got these people on the right, they're like, oh yeah, she's right. It's like, so how do you feel about China ruling the world? Because that's what's going to happen.
See,
like I don't have to be some master of foreign policy or anything like that to see, like, once we step aside, they're stepping up.
Yeah, see, the thing that I find rather irksome about it is the idea that this would just be an amiable split and would remain ever further such. Are they high?
More than likely, yes.
It's
Sanguine.
Civil War II eventually. It might not be Civil War II right away, but it's Civil War II eventually.
No, but the whole point Sarah Silverman was making was forcing vaccines on people, because the end of the video is saying when you go to a foreign country, sometimes you have to get vaccines.
Yes.
And that's why she wants to divide the country in half. It's like so she can force people to get vaccinated if they want to be in her half of the country.
Oh, I
Like
understand.
anybody wants to go to fucking California anyway.
I used to really like California, and then the last 10 years happened, and now I'm sad.
Well, yeah, like the older
has really good press, and that's about it.
the older I've gotten, the more places I've crossed off my list of ever wanting to visit.
And by
Yeah.
really good press, I don't mean as in, like, their press is top quality. I mean their press that they put out about themselves and how important and amazing they are. Yeah, they seem really impressive and amazing in their own press junkets, but then you actually start looking at it and you're going, you're just fucking insane, aren't you?
All it takes is one good PR team, and you're set for life.
Yep.
I mean, well, let's game this out for a second. Let's assume that we do amicably split, right?
Mm-hmm.
You got the coasts. Now that may be one country. That may end up being two. Who knows? You know.
Mm-hmm.
But then China becomes the world hegemon, and the left coast, being the hippies that they are, they're more than happy to get rid of all the guns, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which makes it real easy for somebody to just come in and say, "Hey, guess what? You belong to us now."
Yep.
Mhm.
Yeah, there's a reason why pretty much every major nation that we've gone against in the past century and a half or more has had the idea of, trying to actually do a land invasion of the US is fucking suicide.
What do the Japanese say? There's a rifle behind every blade of grass.
Yep. And that has been a massive boon for the country, because that means that we fight wars in other places, not on our own soil.
Well, like up until now, they always bitch about the gun violence in America. It's like, yeah, why do you think we don't get invaded? We're crazy enough to shoot ourselves. What do you think will happen if you come over here?
Mm-hmm.
I wonder why nobody ever says anything about Switzerland and their guns.
Because that doesn't fit the narrative.
Yeah. And because that would give an idea for a policy that is exactly counter to what the policy they want is.
Which is no guns.
Yeah, they want no guns. Whereas if you start looking at Switzerland, then the idea becomes, maybe we should have, mandatory gun courses.
Mm-hmm. And I think you have to be a citizen to be able to, and then becoming one is very difficult. And
Yep.
it's very straightforward and logical. All the steps about being secure and stuff.
It's like, have you ever talked to an old guy, like proper old, like they used to take their guns to school and nobody got shot.
One of the schools that I went to, one of the high schools that I went to, has a firing range in its basement that hasn't been used since the 70s or 80s. It's still there, but it
they
hasn't
used to
been
teach
used.
marksmanship in school, yeah.
Exactly.
And
there
then-
used to be a marksman club
Yeah,
at the school.
rifle
and they
teams.
used to have a class where you would learn how to own, operate, and maintain a firearm as part of the high school curriculum.
Yeah, when my cousin went to school, to the high school, at my high school,
Mm-hmm.
there used to be trucks with gun racks, pulling in,
Yeah.
pulling out. Just guns were right there.
Well, there's a guy I watch from time to time, Steve Ranella. He hosts a show called Meat Eater, and he's a professional hunter.
Mm-hmm.
He's been hunting his own meat since he was in high school. And he said like his dad, because like Steve Renella's like in his, I don't know, 40s or 50s. He's not super old or anything. But, like his dad used to like take his rifle on the school bus with him during hunting season. Like he'd go out hunting in the morning and then he'd go get on the bus for school.
But like, okay, so a lot of these stories are kind of, I'm sure, also seen with a bit of nostalgia glasses as well. But how do you take these stories of the past and education and all that and sort of reconcile it with
the present?
Our present.
Well, there's a lot of difference between then and
Sandy
now.
Hook and all that sort of stuff, right? Because there is a lot of, and now I'm not anti-gun. I think education is very important, more so than just willy-nilly gun ownership. But at the same time, it's just I can't see this ever continuing because there's too many kids. There's too much unfettered access to internet and forums and people who can talk, put ideas in people's heads where you can't really control. Like there's too many variables now that did not exist 20 plus years ago, right?
So there's a lot of variables that exist now that didn't exist then that are of our own making societally. First of all, when you're talking like Steve Renella's dad being in school, this is probably 50, 60 plus years ago at this point. So you had asylums for the mentally ill and the criminally insane.
Very good
you
point.
had
about that. It was okay to put people away.
You also had across the board in American society more people growing up in 2-parent households.
And you also had a standard, and when I say a standard, I mean one, singular, not several, depending upon whether you're this group or that group, at least in certain parts of the country. Other parts, yeah, they have racist standards that we now would go, those are racist standards. But there are people that are putting those standards in place, or trying to, throughout the entire country, and saying that to not have the racist standard is now racism, which, what the fuck?
And another thing I also think is that they also had more familiarity with guns. Granted, we have more guns than we have people in this country, but not everyone has a gun. A lot of people are adverse to them because they see them as being dangerous, which, yes, they are. But, I mean, so is a whole host of other tools that a person may use. And when you start looking at it as a tool and not as a toy, when you actually treat it with respect and realize what it's capable of, you're going to have a lot less instances of gun violence that way.
Yeah,
but you have so many people who are sheltered from guns and gun safety and the knowledge of how it works and whatnot, that a lot of people end up getting shot just out of sheer ignorance. I mean, you'll have more people die from accidentally discharging their firearm in a given year in America than you would have from a mass shooting. As they report it, with a scary assault rifle.
There was a.
That's one of the things that drives me crazy about that, because when you hear about the gun violence stats, all the shit that they include in the gun violence stat, like when you hear gun violence, what would you guys assume is included in gun violence?
Death?
Let's see. I would assume we're talking, of course, your standard, mass shooter, school shooter situations. You're talking home invasions, homicides. You're talking, if you were to be reasonable, you would also throw in gang violence, drive-by shootings and stuff like that. But they don't. That's a different category. So there's a lot of stuff.
The things that one
but also
probably
defensive
should
shootings.
assume when they hear about gun violence stats, I wouldn't include defensive shootings. If I'm talking about gun violence, the things that I would include are murders, attempted murders,
Armed robbery,
armed robbery,
home invasion,
home invasion, and
potential carjackings.
effectively gun-related crimes.
Yeah.
That's what I would assume when I hear about gun violence stats. And when it becomes the number of shootings, then it would be the murders, the attempted murders, and that like, right?
Yeah.
One of the major components that they have in the gun violence stat is suicides.
Which is like, what, a third, roughly? Oh.
It's more than that. It's in between a third and a half of the entire stat, if I remember correctly. And then they also have accidentals are included in the gun violence stat, which is another third.
See, suicide I could maybe let them get away with because you are being violent. It's just self-directed. If it's an accident, then no, you're not being violent. You're being negligent.
Well, see, that's another thing. Like, if we had more education around guns, a lot of those accidental shootings would drop off. Now, I'm not saying it would get rid of all of them because you're going to have idiots regardless. But a lot of shootings would drop off. How many times have we heard about somebody who accidentally shot themselves or somebody else cleaning their gun? Well, why are you cleaning your gun with a round in the chamber, you moron? Why are you cleaning your gun with a loaded magazine in it? What are you thinking?
If I remember correctly, there's a trauma surgeon, I think he was a trauma surgeon, that started up a program that is rather interesting. I fairly well endorse it. I just wish I could remember what the goddamn name of it was.
Actually,
but
you remember, it reminded me of a story, actually. I just found it. Let's see. Young child dies in Helena Valley shooting. Let's see. Authorities say young child is dead after Tuesday night shooting at a home in the Helena Valley. Officials received a call from the child's father around 7:03 a.m. reporting an accidental shooting with a shotgun. This guy was cleaning his shotgun and got his kid with it.
Jesus Christ.
No, I've got one. I've heard one that's even worse than that. Okay, there was a guy. I think he had 2 kids. I think he had like a boy and a girl, and he was showing his kids what not to do with his pistol.
Oh, God.
And he thought it was unloaded, so he pointed the gun at his daughter and pulled the trigger, showing his kids, don't ever do this. And he ended up shooting his daughter.
But now the survivor knows why you don't ever do that.
Oh, that's dark.
Yeah, I guess if you want to make an omelet, you got to break a few eggs, right, Terry?
Exactly.
But like I'm not a gun guy either. I have very limited experience handling firearms, but I very much would like to purchase a firearm in the future, which it's looking more and more like that's going to go out the window sooner rather than later.
Okay.
But
I got another bit of a story for you, and it's kind of funny and very scary.
Okay.
So I took my wife and stepdaughter shooting before my stepdaughter decided to move, and they tell you that you should not wear loose-fitting clothes because especially with a gun.
You caught a shell in your shirt, didn't you?
Oh no. My wife caught a shell in her shirt.
Oh.
And in her response, she turned the gun.
Oh, did she flag somebody?
Yeah, me.
Oh.
Okay.
I look at her and I'm like, ah! And she's like, no, I got it. Like turns the gun back around. I'm like, holy shit.
Light flashed before your eyes, didn't it, Johnny?
I would say.
But yeah, there's a, like I said, trauma surgeon that saw a lot of gun fatalities and gun injuries come in through his trauma center. So he decided that he wanted to do something about it. And unlike what this story normally ends with them then trying to chastise people and shame them into giving up their firearms. This trauma surgeon instead started an after-school program where it is a children's gun club. And it's, you send your children to this club, and it's him and a number of people that he knows and trusts that start with the basics of, this is how you treat weapons. This is how you handle weapons. These are the dangers. These are the advantages. Point this only at things that you want to be destroyed, never point it at anything else. And think of what's in front, what's behind, and what you're aiming at.
And never put your booger hook on the bang switch until you're ready to kill something.
Yep, so they're going through all the proper gun basics to make sure that these kids won't end up accidentally shooting someone, because they know what the hell they're doing. They know what the firearm is, rather than someone who picks up the gun because they've seen it in movies and isn't it cool when the action star does this? No, these kids are now going, okay, this is something dangerous. This is something that I need to take seriously. Which is how you should be handling that sort of situation. You teach people the proper respect for firearms. You don't teach them to be terrified of firearms. It's kind of like how you don't teach kids to be shit scared of animals. You teach kids, okay, a lot of dogs, yeah, they're really nice. They are unbelievably lovable. Some dogs
Don't
are
like
angry.
to be touched.
Some dogs don't like to be touched. Some are really angry.
Some are very territorial.
Some are very territorial. So, always ask if you can pet someone's dog before you go to pet them. Always bear that in mind, that something could go wrong. Don't just assume that, well, it's a doggy, so there's no harm in doggies. And you do the same with every animal. There's bears, yeah, they're big, beautiful animals, but do not get near a bear.
Always
Do
ask
not
them
pet
if you
the
can
bear.
pet the bear. Go up to bear, look bear straight in the eye, and say, I have picnic basket, can I pet you?
Yeah.
I think saying don't go near the bears is a bit homophobic, though.
So how are we with sharing YouTube videos?
What sort of YouTube video? And
It is I believe it's a news clip.
Then it's probably
News
too much.
clips, news clips can get copyright.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
then I will post it in the chat with as a what not to do.
Oh,
Is this some reporter being an idiot?
Is this
No,
the full semi-auto?
no. That
okay.
although I should find that one, because that puts a smile on my face to this day.
This
No,
is a
this is
full
that's a
semi-
guy-
Oh, I have seen this one. Yeah,
That's a guy
these fucking
who-
idiots.
he gets he got banned from a shooting range for posting a selfie with him holding
Pointing
the gun
his
to
gun at his friend.
friend's face.
Yep.
That
That's stupid.
that range officer, man, he dives in there quick too.
Well, and there's another one that I saw. He grabbed, like, he had his arm around his friend because he was standing behind him, and then with his other hand had the gun to his friend's face. And that guy got busted real fast too. And it's like, Jesus, why the fuck would you ever think to do that?
Idiots. Yeah. Like I said, you're not going to get rid of all the idiots with a proper gun education, but you'll cut down on a lot of them.
I'm fine with letting them kill themselves. I mean, it's a self-solving problem.
Well, I mean, if it was just them killing themselves, I'd
Mhm.
probably be in agreement. But chances are they're going to end up shooting somebody else. It's like drunk drivers, man. You know, they're all nice and relaxed when they crash headlong in a family of 4, so they don't.
Mm.
They walk it off,
Oh.
in a wobbly line. Somebody else that pays the price.
That guy
Turn
really
their
is
PvP
just
flag
out,
off.
isn't
Turn their
he?
PvP flag off first. Then.
If only it worked that way.
Mhm.
But yeah, like I said, I'm not a gun guy. I don't have a lot of experience handling firearms, but because I'm interested in purchasing one or, well, let's say multiple ones, because I'm interested in actually being a gun owner. I'm taking it upon myself to learn as much as I can about them, so
looking
that
up
way I
all
can
the
handle them properly.
looking
And
up the school location so you know where to go.
oh no, man, that's not a worry. Now, if this has been like 2006,
Well, just make sure if you do go on a killing spree, you do it on a Monday. People understand that people don't like Mondays.
God damn, that is a dark reference, but nice. Does everyone know that reference? Just to
Garfield?
make sure? No, it's not Garfield.
No?
Garfield got it from a dark reference.
It's
Wait, was Columbine on a Monday?
I forget the woman's name, but yeah, there was a woman who shot up a school, and when they asked her why she did it, she said, "I don't like Mondays."
Wow.
What's her name? Geldof.
Well, I mean,
Geldof did a song about it.
it's a woman shooter, so I'm guessing nobody really got hurt.
Oh no, this was one of the first school shootings in history, if not the first school shooting in the United States, not including the various times that it happened during wars. It happened in the War of 1812 and shit like that, where it wasn't really a school student shooting up. No, this was one of the earliest recorded school shootings, where it was a teenager shooting up a school. And it was this one girl, and I'm quickly pulling up her name so that I can say the right one. It was Brenda Spencer.
That's it.
And she was, let me quickly pull up her age, I think 16 at the time.
Wow, that is
She-
some old person.
Yeah, she was, I want to say 16 at the time. And she lived across the street from a elementary school. So, yep, she was
Wait,
16.
she shot up in an elementary school?
Yep, she was 16. She lived across the street from an elementary school. And in the early morning, when the kids were just arriving, she opened fire on the school from her home. She shot 11 people. 8 of them were children. A police officer. And 2 men. Thankfully, the only people that she killed were the 2 men. The custodian and the principal for the school. So
Nice.
she shot, I think, a couple of the students first, a couple of the young children. Her youngest victim was something like 7 or 8. The first person that she shot, according to this, was a 9-year-old girl who was shot in the wrist. When Principal Rag, who was one of the 2 that ended up dying, figured out what was happening, he immediately started rushing about, getting people out as much as he could, getting the children to safety. And he got shot. He was killed almost instantly. He was shot in the chest. And then the other man who had got killed in this was the custodian, Michael Suchar, who was a World War II veteran. And when he saw Rag get shot, he ushered the students into safety, because a lot of them just froze, not knowing what to do, which was what Rag had started doing. And then, after getting most of the children into safety, he tried to grab Rag's body, not realizing that Rag had already died, and drag him to safety. For his effort, he was also shot and killed. Like I said, it was 11 people in total, including one police officer who was shot but wounded. The 8 students who were each wounded, none of them died, though one of them was shot in the chest. It didn't hit a vital organ, or an organ so vital that they bled out immediately, so they were able to be treated and get out of there in one piece. But eventually they figured out where the shots were coming from. They apprehended her, and yeah, her reason for the shooting was, and I quote, "I don't like Mondays. This livens up the day."
Yeah, Spud Gun, he was on that quote too.
Mm.
And like I said, it was one of the earliest reported school shootings.
Now, what did they do to 16-year-old Miss Spencer? Is she at juvie? What happened?
Let me look up what the sentence was.
Because if you're telling me
25 to life, I think, or something like that. She's due for parole next September.
Oh.
Okay. Yep, she was sentenced to 25 years to life. She was originally, or she had a parole. Not sure if this is the first one. In 1993, she tried to claim that she had some whiskey, smoked marijuana, taken PCP, and had hallucinatory visions of commandos outside her window in combat gear, which goes against her initial claim of "I don't like Mondays."
Yeah, I'm gonna say it's like, as somebody who's done his fair share of drugs, whiskey, weed, and PCP, and you're telling me you managed to hit 11 people?
Yep.
I'm calling shenanigans.
And this is also when all the tox reports from her, because they always take samples in order to figure out, was this person on anything, came back negative.
Yeah.
And then she tried to claim in 93 that that was what had caused her to go on the shooting. She was up for parole in 2001. And then she tried a second gambit, which was accusing her father of sexual assault. And
well, shoot him, you daffy bitch.
yeah, she accused her father of sexual assault. The lawyers, state officials, and pretty much everyone else went, yeah, why the fuck is now the first time that we're hearing about this?
Yeah.
Rather than at any point before this. In the 20 years that we've had you in custody. Now, yeah, sure, you're full of shit. And then, let's see. In 2001 was also the first time that she apparently expressed any sort of remorse, which I would categorize that as crocodile tears.
Okay, so when was the shooting exactly then? Because we're doing parole hearings in 2001. I'm assuming we're 80s.
It
70s?
was 79.
79. Okay.
And she is, like I said, a lot of people took that as crocodile tears, but she said, with every school shooting, I feel I'm partially responsible. What if they got that idea from what I did? Yeah, a vast majority of school shooters get the idea from other school shooters.
That
Yeah.
almost seems like she feels proud.
Yeah, it almost
Less
seems
of her
like...
feeling regretful and more like feeling like
I'm a trendsetter.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because think of it. How many times when there's a school shooting does it come out that they said that they would be more well-known than insert other school shooter here?
We had a guy in was an older brother of a dude I went to school with that when Columbine happened, they were worried about that dude coming to school.
Yep.
Because I said, like, if he had decided to do a school shooting, the propane tank bombs would have worked.
Mm-hmm.
I just like the idea of a school shooter going, I'm doing this for you, Brenda.
Well, the thing of it is like years later, like after, I think I was probably, it must have been my senior year of high school. That dude actually did go on a shooting rampage, pretty much. He ended up, I think he killed like an ex-girlfriend and her current boyfriend before the cops tracked him down, got him surrounded, and he killed himself.
Yeah, that's how a lot of them ended up. And I'm quickly looking into this because, yeah, she had the 2001 parole hearing, she had a 2009 parole hearing, and she had a 2019 parole hearing. Or she was scheduled for a 2019 parole hearing.
Spudgun said that she did have one in 2019, and she is still incarcerated.
Okay. Yeah, that was what I was just about to look up, whether she is still behind bars or whether the 2019 she managed to wriggle her way out.
I was told that if our yearbook had it, I would have been most likely to repeat Columbine.
Oh.
God damn.
Yeah. Yeah, that was an awkward lunch with my friends.
Well, like when I was
Yeah,
when
no
I was in
kidding.
high school, we were supposed to do an active shooter drill as part of like the drama department. We were supposed to be like, playing shooting victims and helping like the local police and sheriff's department to respond to an active shooter. And eventually it didn't end up happening. But guess who got cast as a school shooter, y'all?
Our one and only here.
Yeah. Who's got two thumbs and was going to be a school shooter? This guy.
So
No,
I do have to ask, was it because of the trench coats, Johnny? Is that the reason why they pegged you?
No, I was not one of the trench coat guys.
Okay.
Yeah, neither was I. No, the reason why I was going to...
It's because I was too quiet and too nice.
Yeah, it's always the quiet ones you got to look out for. No, I was actually going to get that casting because this was my junior year of high school, and so I had been the lead male in the school play. So like, well, you did good enough at that. We'll let you do this. I was like, so do I get to go full method? What are we doing here? Like, do I get to improvise, or do I have to like follow a strict game plan? Because I was like, I don't want you guys thinking I'm crazy, but I just want to know, is like, what are the parameters here? Like, how am I supposed to act for this so that way, if there is a school shooting, these guys know how to fucking respond. It's my ass on the line here too, guys.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, they ended up not doing it, so I missed out. I was like, oh man, I could have so much fun running around the halls of this place with a pellet gun.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, she was one of the very first. Unfortunately, that is a long line of copycats.
Yeah.
And like I said, you hear it with almost every single one of them. They say something along the lines of, I'm going to be more famous than Columbine, or I'm going to be more famous than insert the most recent one.
And then they hire a bunch of crisis actors
And the thing that drives me crazy about it is we keep on playing this game of, well, why did they commit this crime? Okay, what are they saying? Well, they said that they wanted to be more famous than this person. Okay, so how did you respond to that? Well, we stuck their face and name everywhere that we possibly could.
You know what gets me is we've had a lot of these very highly publicized mass shootings in America, right? The one with the highest body count so far, they don't ever talk about anymore.
Talking about the explosive one?
No, I'm talking about Vegas.
Ah, okay.
Like, was it like was it 50, 55? No, I said like mass shooting, huh?
Okay.
Like the club?
No. The Las Vegas shooting in 2017.
Yeah.
Where he was shooting out of a hotel at the country music festival, and like how many casualties did they say they had? It was hundreds of people that ended up getting shot, and like 50 some odd that were killed. And 58. Thank you, Shaky Logic. 58 people that were killed in the shooting. I think well over 100 people were injured in the shooting.
So, according to the thing that I pulled up, it says 60 people.
60. Okay.
Dying, and it was 411 people.
Yeah, it was. And like this guy, you know, supposedly he was like a gambler. He made money. Was it playing poker?
I think so.
Apparently he came into this hotel. He'd rented a suite, and he had just brought in like case after case on the little luggage racks.
Mm-hmm.
And he had like thousands of rounds of ammunition, multiple rifles set up with, and that's why we don't have bump stocks anymore. It's because of that asshole. And like the last time I heard about it was, I actually heard about the Vegas shooting here recently. You know why? Anybody want to hazard a guess why I heard about the Vegas shooting? The guy that was on stage playing when it started, Jason Aldean, his bodyguard passed away last month. That's the only thing I've heard about Las Vegas in 2.5 years.
I don't even remember it, and I feel bad.
I can't even tell you the guy's name without looking it up.
Actually, the only reason I remember it is because Fat Mike from NoFX got canceled for a shitty off-color joke about...
what was the one about how like 60 people went to go see Jason Aldean and got to see Tom Petty as well?
No. He said, you know...
Yeah,
I think
because Tom Petty died like right around the same time, too.
Yeah. Let's see. Let me see if I can find it, but...
Yeah, and like to this day, like the FBI still doesn't have anything about it, really.
Yeah,
so
and with that death toll, it was the first one, if I remember correctly, to exceed what was before the most deadly. Oh no, there was one other that exceeded. So
there was?
Pulse exceeded.
Oh, okay.
So
yeah,
it was,
that was I was thinking of Pulse. Yeah.
Yep, Pulse was the.
Is that Florida?
That was Florida.
Okay.
And with the Pulse nightclub, it was 49. Like I said, the total death of the Vegas was about 60. I think it's 48 died of their actual injuries. And oh no, okay, so one of the bombings that I was thinking is still the greatest number of deaths. The other one is the fourth greatest number of deaths. So I think it was 58 died from gunshots, 2 died of trampling in the Vegas, which is why there's the 58 as well as 60 numbers going around. Then one of the ones that I was thinking was up there was the Bath Township mass murder.
I'm not familiar with that one.
So the Bath Township mass murder is better known by the person that started it, which is sometimes the Kohei mass murder, or Kehoe mass murder is another way of referring to it. Not sure if it's Kehoe or Kehoe, but it was a dude who was elected the treasurer of Bath Consolidated School Board and was temporarily appointed as the Bath Township clerk. He lost the election for the position, and he went completely fucking mental due to this. He descended into massive amount of debt, stopped maintaining his farm. He had a shit ton of equipment and livestock that he just purchased before going into debt, which he could have sold off a portion of that and immediately rebounded from the debt. But he didn't. He started spiraling, blaming his wife and society for all of his issues. His farm went into foreclosure. He also blamed the school system and the city council, effectively. So he snapped, but it was far more methodical than a standard snap, because what he ended up doing was, over the course of a few months, he placed explosives in the school that he was able to get access to, as well as several other key locations. Then he reached the point where he had done all the prep work that he wanted to do. So he started off by murdering his wife in their home. She was suffering from tuberculosis, if I remember correct. But he murdered his wife in their home, then wired all their animals' legs together before burning all of their property, their home, their barns, everything. He started burning it all to the ground and then drove off.
I'm assuming the animals were still in the barn?
Yep, with their legs wired together.
Oh.
So that none of them could escape. As he was driving away, one of his neighbors saw the flames, called it in, and the fire department responded, as well as police officers. The fire lieutenant, on his way over, if I remember correctly, it was the fire lieutenant, on his way over, ended up seeing Kehoe drive away from the farm, thought it was fucking weird, and ended up reporting that in. The superintendent for the school system ended up hearing about it and went to the school that Kehoe was working at, arrived there in time for Kehoe to arrive with his truck that was completely chock-a-block with explosives. Kehoe then shot the superintendent, killing him before detonating the truck and the building that he had primed with, or several of the buildings that he had primed with explosives.
I agree with Green Badger Outdoors. What an asshole.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And like I said, this dude had shit that he could have sold off to completely turn around his situation. Yes, it's a Bath school disaster, sometimes known as the Bath School Massacre, sometimes known as the Bath Township Massacre, the Bath Township Disaster, or the Kehoe Massacre Disaster. Well,
take your pick.
Murder. Yeah, it goes by a number of different names. And when, like I said, he had shit that he could have sold off to completely turn around his situation. He chose not to. And as they were searching his farm afterwards to see if there was any other nasty secrets that he had left. On one of the areas of the farm, he had scrawled, "Criminals are made, not born," which really fucked up considering dude only needed to sell off some of the brand new farm equipment that he decided to immolate instead. And it would have been perfectly fine. He would have been back in the black, as it were.
I found the statement.
Oh, go ahead.
Okay, it was after they were performing. He goes, "We played a song about Muslims and didn't get shot. Hooray! I guess you only get shot in Vegas if you're in a country band."
Oh, God.
Damn. And then, of course, the one that is... Okay.
And and then the canceling began.
Yep. And, of course, the one that is still the unchallenged lead of mass fatality incidents is the Oklahoma City bomb.
And that was what, 168. Yeah. That happened when I was 5 years old. That was 94, right?
95.
95. Okay, 6. Pardon me. I was 6 years old.
Yep.
And
it was because of the Branch Davidian complex, and then what was the other one?
Ruby Ridge.
Ruby Ridge.
Yeah.
Drove Timothy McVeigh fucking mental.
Well, like the dude was a bit off his rocker before he even left the army.
Oh yeah.
You know, he
actually up to 11.
Yeah, he went over to Kuwait. I think they said that he actually got a kill, like a confirmed kill while he was over there.
Mm-hmm.
Came back, tried to go through Special Forces selection, didn't even make it past like the land navigation portion. Got out of the army, hooked up with some militia dudes up in Michigan, which is where he met Terry Nichols.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, they wanted to strike back at the government for Ruby Ridge and for Waco, and they ended up picking the Murrah Federal Building in Oklahoma City, which Terry Nichols would later go on to say is like if they knew that there was like a daycare in that building, they would have chose a different one. It's like, yeah, that doesn't really buy you a lot of goodwill saying, oh, we would have killed hundreds of people, but not kids.
Not kids, yeah. And that's so easy to say after the fact.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
After the fact, when no one can really prove otherwise, yeah.
And then he met his soulmate, Ted Kaczynski.
But the only problem I had with the way that it was handled is like I feel like instead of him being executed, I get it. It's a federal crime. It's a federal building. He should have got the needle in Oklahoma. Mm-hmm. That bugged me that they sentenced him to death in a federal prison in Indiana. It's like, nah, let us do it. We might not guarantee that it goes smoothly, but we can guarantee it'll get done.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Spud Gun, you're preaching to the choir, man. I'm not going to say I'm an expert on Ruby Ridge or Waco or anything, but yeah, I'm familiar with both of those instances, and that's right. Those were both fucked up.
Oh yeah, they were both fucked up, but
nowhere near justification for killing 168 people who had nothing to fucking do with it.
Yeah.
All right.
I mean,
one thing to say the government fucked up, and we need to actually get them to own up to them fucking up. It's another thing to go, I'm gonna blow people up.
Mm-hmm.
I think Johnny's want to go ahead and end it here because we've been talking about child killing, terrorism.
As happy as this
Light
has been,
topics.
actually, I'm starting to fade a bit. So
yeah.
yeah, let's finish up with parting thoughts. Yeah. How about you, Camel?
I'll go with something I said earlier. Don't put your booger hook on the bang switch until you're ready to kill something.
All right. Terry?
If you'd like to know more about killing children, join us next week on Minions of the Zoo.
Nice.
All right, Sora?
If you look out the window on a Monday and you feel like livening things up, perhaps go meet a stranger on a subway instead of gunning down children in a schoolyard.
Mm-hmm.
Sanguine?
I'll quickly pour another finger in this glass before I say, as a way of trying to lighten things back up. May the best you've ever seen be the worst you'll ever see. Have a good night, all.
Good night.
Yeah.
Hi, guys.
Oh, then
Bye, everyone.
Now we're just gonna ignore me. I
Sorry.
get it.
Wait,
No.
wait, wait.
No, I see how it is.
Bye, everyone.
My voice is just too commanding. Everyone felt compelled.
Yeah.
No, I can't follow that up. I'm just gonna go. You guys have a good night.
Have a good night, all.